So apparently we're having the talk. I don't know why. I'm not really sure. It was funny last night. I'm in the middle of a shift. It was later on, and then we end up we were just chatting, and then it all of a sudden got very serious. And then she goes, "You know, John, we really need to talk." And I tell you what. For me, for some reason, I ended up getting triggered because I'm like, "Oh, you're not leaving me, are you?" And then she's like, "Oh, no, nothing like that. Don't worry about it." I'm like, "What? You can't say that you've got something to talk about in that tone like that and then go, don't worry about it, we'll talk about it tomorrow when I've still got 6 hours of a shift to go."
No.
Where do you think my focus is then?
No.
Anyway, it's just been a bit of a laugh this morning because the first thing when she goes, "Are you all right, John?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. I'm feeling a little depressed. When are you moving out?"
Oh my God, I'm crying.
So we've had a bit of it was quite funny anyway. So it will be forever known as the talk.
Oh God.
So we're about to have the talk.
In my defense.
Actually, I left for work. Everything was fine. Then an acupuncture appointment happened.
Yeah.
And then a lot of inclusion from social media, interaction, I should say, from social media. Apparently, in that 6 hours since I left home.
That had nothing to do with it.
Anyway.
Okay, in my defense, so when you're working night shift on the ambulance, and then I know the next day I knew that you were going to do a night shift as well.
Yeah.
And then a whole lot of stuff happened, and I had to talk to you about it. And then I was like, okay, I need to tell him that tomorrow he needs to schedule in some time for a talk, because I know that you're like busy.
Well, it's just I guess when I'm in work mode, it's like 3 or 4 days, and I just stick my head down. But I think the message is just be very wary of your delivery.
But I tried to deliver it.
We were all happy and jovial, and then it's like,
I mean, I was pretending
John,
to be
we
happy.
really need to talk.
Yeah, well, I was just.
Right.
But you jumped straight to, are you leaving me?
I don't know where that came from.
I was like, well, I've never threatened to leave before.
Maybe previous. I don't know.
And what, I do like 11 rounds of IVF and then leave?
She's nuts.
I am nuts, but that's not what happens. Okay, but we have to have the talk.
Alright, well, I've got food over there, but...
You have to wait. Okay, so I have to tell you...
I've got something better to do. No.
I have to tell you about what happened to me last night. It's about me. Okay, so anyway, remember yesterday?
Yeah. Well, yes. Which part?
So we talked...
The smiling assassin leaving me, pushing me out the door to go to work?
No. Okay, so yesterday morning we talked to Dr. Katz.
Yes, we did talk to Dr. Katz.
And because we have been planning for a long time now that we're going to do a transfer next month with those 3 embryos that we have. So we've got 3 embryos in the freezer.
Yeah.
And we were like, we had our plan. We were going to transfer next month, right?
Yeah.
And we're really looking forward to that. Because finally, after
we're about to again move forward.
Yeah, just move forward. And it's been so frustrating. We were like, finally, we're going to get a chance to maybe be pregnant. And then we spoke to Dr. Katz, and he talked about some things that I didn't really realize, which was about, like, if I did get pregnant, then you wouldn't be able to take testosterone until you have the second microtest. The second microtest is just thrown a big curveball.
So my testosterone is in the boots, in my boots.
He says in my boots when he means low.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that expression.
In my boots.
So basically,
though, just to say that, I don't know any different, which is why. But anyway, I'm glad you're considering it. So
that I didn't sort of think about that. I was like, if the great thing happens and we do a transfer next month and I get pregnant, then you won't be able to do anything for like 2 years
until we have my surgery. Yeah.
And so we never expected to have a second microtesy.
No. We didn't expect the first one to work.
Well, the first one worked, and now we have an opportunity to do a second one. Because I thought,
and hopefully,
and this is what's been so hard about it, is because I thought going into the microtesy, I'm like, okay, I'm done egg retrieving because I'll never.
Right.
And then so we did the micro-tease and he's like, oh, you can do it again. And I'm like, fuck, I have to do more egg retrievals.
That's right. So it took us a bit to get over that, and here we are.
So
later.
I was like, fuck, I have to do more. So there was that. And then, so now we were like going for transfer, right? And then he sort of says yesterday, he's like, you need to do the micro-tease now. You can't wait until after a pregnancy or after. And I was like, yes, we're not, like, we have to do the transfer. So we decided yesterday that we were going to do the transfer next month. So anyway,
I went to work.
Before he went, so he goes to work, and then I had to go to acupuncture.
Yeah.
And my acupuncturist is amazing. She's really nice. So before we start the session, she always says, "So what's going on?" She always wants an update.
What's going on? That's a loaded question.
And I was already like, we were walking slowly because I'm like really sore from the DNC and the hysteroscopy and the egg retrieval. So I walk in, and she's like, "Okay, so obviously we need to do some acupuncture for what's going on with you after the surgery." And I'm like, "Yeah, great." And she said, "But what are you doing next?" And I said, "Well, we're going to do a transfer next month." And she's like, "Okay, good." And then I went. But also, we spoke to Jon's doctor, and I've got a lot on my mind because he needs to be on testosterone, which, and also we know right now that, one, I can produce eggs, and two, that you can probably produce sperm now.
We have, it's good to have the chance to have a second micro-tease, though it's still a Hail Mary to find sperm again. So, but
we're going on. If we're looking at it from a scientific kind of basis, it worked 3 months ago, whenever it was. Yeah. So anyway, I explained that all to her, and she went, "Okay, but you're still going to do the transfer." She's like, "We'll prepare you for transfer," and I'm like, "Great." I hop on the bed. She puts the needles in, and she goes, "Okay, I'll see you later." Oh, and I farted while she was doing it.
Oh.
Just a little one, and I was like...
You did last night too, that's my alarm to get into bed.
After surgery, I have no control.
No.
And I just said, "Excuse me," and she said, "That's okay." And I was like, oh my God. So I'm already like freaked out from that. I'm lying on the bed.
So I just do it just to make her feel better.
You just fart all the time. Okay, so I'm lying on the bed, and I'm lying there, and I'm like, okay, just get ready for transfer. Like,
Zen.
Just standing out, getting ready for transfer, and then I'm like, maybe we shouldn't do a transfer. And then I'm thinking about it more, and I'm like, the best opportunity we have to produce young eggs is right now. And what happened while I was having the acupuncture was my strength was coming back.
Right.
Because that's what...
Yeah, a couple of days. Yeah, this is about the time.
I was exhausted from egg retrieval, and I'm like, my strength is coming back. And I'm like, this is not the smartest move.
Mm.
And I'm like...
Especially since we've made smart.
It's disappointing. But I was like, fuck, there's so many reasons why we can't do a transfer yet. Because if I get pregnant, there'll be a downside. I don't want there to be a downside when I get pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm like, and we only have 3 embryos. Statistically, I know you hate statistics, but statistically, 1 in 3 embryos is likely to become a pregnancy. Okay. So if we're going to go on statistics, out of these 3 untested embryos that we have, we might get 1 pregnancy. Yeah. And say we get lucky and we get that, then it's 2 years until we can do another egg retrieval again. And we really want to do a fresh egg retrieval and a fresh fertilization. And so I'm like, I'm going to have to do egg retrievals again, right? Yeah. And so I was like, okay, so just say the pregnancy works. Yeah. I'm breastfeeding. Yeah.
And then you've got to...
And then and there's also, I was actually asking the girls in the support groups about breastfeeding and STIMS, because I think some clinics don't allow you to do it at all. Yeah. Some do. Some women just don't tell them that they're breastfeeding. Mm. But I would like to be able to breastfeed for a long time.
I would like you to too. I think it's important.
Yeah, that's something that's important to us, for what we want to do, and we'll see how it works out, because it doesn't always work out, but that's a whole other conversation. So I was like, okay, so obviously the meds aren't great when you're... So I'm like, okay, so I have to do a STIM cycle anyway, and I might have a baby, so that would be a downside. And I'm like, then what if in 2 years' time I'm not producing as great eggs anymore? What if your micro-tease comes up with nothing? I'm like, if we look at this scientifically, this just worked a couple of months ago. The chances of it working right now are higher right now than in 3 years.
That's right.
So I was like, okay, so it's not good for breastfeeding. It's also just, I feel...
This always happens, by the way. We get through the first part of it, and then we really start digging in.
So I was lying there on the bed just going, calm, relax.
Yeah. But you were off,
And so I'm like already crying, because I'm like, I can't believe I have to do more egg retrievals. I'm like, I've done 12 cycles, 11 surgeries. I just had the hysteroscopy, which wasn't necessary if we were going to do more retrievals.
But in saying that, she's gone in and had a look already.
I know, but we could have done that later.
Yeah.
So I'm like devastated, because I'm like, and I was so hopeful about next month maybe being pregnant, but I'm like, this is not the right choice. And I'm like, okay, so if we look at the schedule, so your doctor can fit us in, right?
Yes. Well, I think I can talk to the managers at his clinic and see if I can get in.
Well, there's more, cuz.
Oh, well. Okay.
So then I looked at the calendar.
You did say 10 minutes, I'm like, I just blocked that out. No.
But then you're seeing where I'm going with this, right, though? Because then I looked at the calendar and I'm like, okay, I'm currently off work. When in my life is that ever going to happen again?
Yeah.
Both being off work and not taking care of a child, right? So I'm like, I have about 3 months now.
Yeah.
The next thing I have on the calendar, ironically, is the same week as the date that he's made possible.
Yeah.
As much as I feel like crap, I'm like, well, it's working. I'm like, what if next month we produce another 10? Then I could do egg retrieval, fresh transfer, microtesy. If we can get them to come forward even more, we could do egg retrieval, microtesy. We actually don't lose any more time.
Yeah.
We lose 1 month, but we get 3. We lose 1 or 2 months, and we get 2 or 3 more egg retrievals.
We're at our best time.
Well, I'm as young as I'll ever be.
You're not working. I can change my work.
I don't feel good about it. Like, this is not what I want to do. I feel the idea of doing another egg retrieval is like literally terrifying. I've done and it's that keep moving of the goalposts, like that I get so close and then I'm back to square one. Like, and I keep telling my doctors and nurses, I'm like, this is the last time I'm going to be here. And then when I think about it, I'm like, it's not. Like, the only way this, and it really comes down to the biggest question because I'm really big on finding out what's the real question here. And the real question is, do you want to do another microtesy? Do you want to have another shot at getting your sperm in the game? Because if you do, then we have to play this differently.
I think it's important, but it doesn't have to be just my answer.
Yeah, I know.
We've been given the second shot at this.
Yeah, because we don't
have
to do the second microtesy. No. We could look at options like donor and whatever if these 3 embryos don't work. But if you're going to do another microtesy now or in the future, the better time to do it is now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just maths. That's just logic. So it really comes down to both of us deciding whether we want you to do another microtesy. Because if we want you to do another microtesy, then I have to do more egg retrievals. Yeah. And potentially, imagine we've got 10 eggs next month, 10 eggs the next month, and then the fresh one, another 10 eggs. We could have 55 eggs if we do this now. Whereas in 2 years' time, there's no guarantee on anything.
No, you're going to be starting off again. And even if we got some eggs each time, it's going to be more than, we're going to end up with more than what we have.
They're going to be older, my body might not respond. This, for whatever reason, this is the best we've ever been able to get my body to respond. I know what I was thinking about. Remember when we first started IVF and I was having like breakouts on my skin?
Yeah.
And I was having like...
That was right at the beginning.
Yeah, and remember when, as soon as I came off the pill, I was having breakouts, and then when I started IVF again, I was having breakouts, and I was like, something was a bit unbalanced at that time. Yeah. Right now, I'm not as unbalanced, which is weird because I'm injecting myself with hormones every day, but for some reason, my body's kind of reached a kind of equilibrium. After having given birth and breastfeeding, my hormones are going to be different again, and we're going to try and put me on the same protocol, and it might not work the same. Yeah. Because my body will be different then. You know what I mean? It's that whole thing of you can't stick in the same river twice because it would have changed.
It would have already gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
And I think it's just knowing what we know from at the start where we couldn't get my body to respond. What happens if that happens again in 2 years? And add to that I might have a toddler.
Yeah.
I mean, if I...
Yeah. That was what I did start thinking that last night.
The only thing to think about would be if these 3 embryos don't work, then we would know that and we could potentially move to donor sperm earlier. But potentially your microtesy, say we had 55 eggs and they went real deep on your microtesy and we fertilized and we got 7, we could PGS test, we could do we'd have more options. And I was kind of thinking about it like this. I was like, it's like we've got 3 cards in the hand. We don't know if we can play it. We've got 25 cards on the table and the dealer's got more in the deck. And unless we ask him to deal, we're playing these 3 cards. But if he deals, we might end up with another 7.
And really, if you think about it, if we transfer next month and then the next month and the next month, and you're 3 months or 4 months down the track, if we've actually booked in 3 months in September, you've done your egg retrievals, and we've actually done a fresh transfer, in pretty much the same time.
Right. Pretty much almost the same time.
The same
so
time.
I mean, as much as
it's a different
outcome and a different set of information that we would have. But the fact is, if you're going to have a microtesy now or later,
it's best now.
And so I'm lying on the bed, and the acupuncturist comes back, and she's like, "You're right in here." And I said, "I'm having an existential crisis." And she came in, and I'm like, I can't move when I'm having acupuncture, so I've got tears coming down here.
You got
and
started.
she's like, "Are you okay?" And she did make a good point, which is very much what an acupuncturist or a naturopath would say. She would like, you're not going to do more egg retrievals, are you? And I said, well, yeah. And she said, but that reduces your energy as well. That potentially makes it harder for you when you come. But I'm a little bit like 6 retrievals versus 8 or 9 retrievals. My energy's depleted anyway. And
well,
then
you can see where you're at now. You're actually coming back.
Well,
we're looking after you better.
Well, I think when she sort of said all that, I was like, okay, we've already sort of said that it's my full-time job just to take care of my health. But I'm thinking I need to do it a little bit more. I mean, the other factor is the financial piece, whether we want to commit this much finances now. But the fact is, if you're going to have the microtesting now or later, it's going to be the same.
No, it's going to be the same. Well, but the outcome may be different.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, then there's, I guess, my well-being moving forward as well.
Well, yeah, because then you can go on the drugs that you need.
And then I can actually be there 100% for you.
Yeah. And then, because we always planned that we would do the microtesy and be done.
Yeah.
And then all like that, we'd have the full we'd have the full hand that we were going to be dealt in terms of your own biological kids, and then we could move forward from that. But we don't have the full hand yet.
No.
We got
My
an extra
surgery
kind
was
of
so much less because they found what they needed, the sperm. Yeah.
Like it's like I'm so disappointed. Like my heart is broken because I'm like, fuck, I have to keep doing this. And I was resisting it because I'm like, I don't want to do more egg retrievals. I want to have a chance to get pregnant. You know, like so many other, like it's such a different conundrum because other women go through IVF and they just have failed transfers. They get a chance. I mean, in some ways I'd rather not have that experience, and maybe we will have that experience in the future, but this just not even getting out of the starting gate is just, I don't know, it's just...
It makes a lot of sense.
I know. So I guess that's my questions for you is, do you want the opportunity to have another microtesy? Do you want more embryos with your sperm?
Obviously, the chance to have another microtesy is... to have a second shot at a one-time operation. I don't want to put you through 2 more or 1 more.
3
I know you do it. Though we've really exhausted all avenues by then, though.
Well, I've been trying to see it as, okay, I do STIMS cycles now, I don't have to do them later. Because the other thing is, if I'm doing transfers and stuff, it might take a while for my body to get back into balance again.
Yeah. I know you're probably kicking yourself.
It sucks.
It makes a lot of sense.
No,
Whether you do any more egg retrievals or not.
Well, my acupuncturist was just trying to suggest I just take some time off.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but I can't take time off. It's just not in me. Like if I had the difference between 35 eggs and 45 eggs, I'm going to go with 45.
I know, that's just you.
Because also potentially if they only find 30 sperm again, well then we'll just keep some eggs frozen. And then we always have the option of donor.
Yeah.
But this whole thing has been hard and uncomfortable, and I've been sick for 2 years. Like, I think it's just part of what it's going to take to build a family for us.
Well, it makes sense.
I know.
It makes so much sense.
I know. And
I'm sorry for you.
I know. I'm sorry for you too. I mean, you have to have another surgery too. I mean, you don't have to have 3, but you have to have a surgery.
Yeah. I will do whatever you want to do, though. It sounds.
But if if you were making the decision for yourself, because the other thing is you've got to now schedule another surgery this year.
Just book it in.
But I mean, you'll have to take time off work and everything.
Well, you know my recovery last time, it was alright.
Yeah. If you were taking like me out of the equation, what would you want to do?
Just get it done.
Yeah.
Get it done, because then for us, I can actually.
Yeah. Because who knows if not
myself
having
sorted.
your hormones right could have some other knock-on effect.
No, that's right. That's right. Maybe I'm going to be just depressed for the rest of my life. we have. It's been really important, but we've made it. We've made lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah.
They're supposed to move a lot.
They move so
And
much.
we've been able to just chat through it, and whilst I can feel the disappointment, I know, like you said, it is the only.
It's as soon as
It's for us, our situation. It is literally our only option.
If you are going to do it on a micro-tizzy, it's the best way to do it.
There is literally no
and this
point
is
when
why
I'm 45.
your doctor annoys me so much, because he's always right.
Yeah.
And it annoys me because I'm like, no.
He's great.
I mean, our doctor's always right as well, but she's more open to how I feel, like how I
feel
feel,
and that sort of thing.
Whereas he's just like, no,
He
no,
just
the
drops
maths,
the hammer and it's
the
like,
maths and the science is
this is where your best outcome sits.
It's a robot.
He is. Yeah.
So it sucks, hey. And in fact, I even last night started estrogen priming. Because I'm like, I know I'm going to be doing a retrieval, so I started taking the Prognova and the Testagel, because I'm like, that's what we usually do, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was taking it, I was like,
Oh.
Were you thinking anything like this?
It's a lot. It didn't sit right with me, but
you wanted to let me do
it was making sense.
Yeah, but you didn't want to push
Cats
me
was
into it.
making no.
So when I said no, you just agreed,
I
right?
would have just I don't like seeing you go through what you go through.
Yeah.
It's hard.
But it has another end point. I mean,
The funny thing is, you are getting better at it.
Yeah. It's so funny because I'm like, but now there's an end point. But I feel like we've said that 4 times already.
Yeah. There's no point in saying it. Right, so we've decided.
Yeah.
You are your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
But you're our best ally. It's amazing.
I'm tired.
I know.
Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk to you about.
That was the talk. Well done. That was awesome, Jack. Awesome.
Yeah.
Just the sight of you when I'm at my weakest point makes a world of difference, so you make me strong. Pretty little thing, you're a diamond in the rough, shining from within.